Last Sunday to come and see it. Everybody was invited, all the media was. You didn't want to know. John Searle was nothing. This was all dreams. Now you suddenly see in a paper who did take the trouble to come, that is true. Alright, so you're not going to show me the IGV? No. Certainly not. Alright, we'll put pay to that. Sunday come out, front page, John Searle con man. Do not invest in him. Thinking that would force me to show them. What I did, I said that to the government. I told them, you know what I'm doing. This is slanderous defamation of character. And they wrote back, dear Mr. Sir, we can't do nothing, but what we will do is we'll ask all our laboratories to supply you with all the information you need to help you.
The British government was aware of John Searle, if only as a result of his own letters complaining of the press coverage. This was a one-of-a-kind story. The flight performance claims for his levity disc were astonishing.
It's just easy for us to put a craft up and send it to anywhere in the world, unmanned or manned, and it will reach the point in the shortest possible time. The program on the models used to do from England to Australia in 30 minutes with no trouble at all. And we anticipate the manned craft we're building now will also easily cope with that speed. From 1963 until about 1978, where we had to stop because of cost of operation, we flew, say for instance the Demo 1, that flew 500 times around this globe through the use of ham operators.
500 times around the Earth. Had the unmanned levity disc reached outer space? In his plans for the manned craft, Searle openly spoke to the press about a trip to the moon.
The moon, as I say, we could say an hour trip. You land it after you clear the air belt. So you're 20 minutes climbing out. And what did the newspaper say? John Searle said, 2 seconds to the moon. John Searle didn't say that. John Searle said, 20-minute gentle climb out. 2 seconds switch off power on the top plate to let it pick up speed. Then put it back to hold it at that new setting. 52 minutes we should be in orbit around the moon to look for an ideal spot. Probably 10 minutes to find an ideal spot to put down on.
From the Earth to the moon in 1 hour? The flight tests of his levity disc established stunning claims that did not go unnoticed by the Cold War superpowers. They accused each other after detecting unknown spacecraft.
There was a time where we did put a test. We did take a vehicle up there, and Russia and were accusing the Americans of having a secret device up there. The Americans were accusing the Russians of it. It was neither. And that was the Air Commodore statement, really. Here the Americans and the Russians are thumping away at each other, accusing each other of these secret things going on. And here's a man in England twirling the knobs that is causing wholesale chaos with the big boys.
Searle caused even more trouble. The high energy from his disc interfered with radio communication at nearby Blackbush Airport. Ironically, this was where he would earn his fixed-wing pilot's license to avoid any civil aviation objection to him piloting the first manned levity disc.
I think it was Daily Mirror report, a Derby area, about UFO night watch, where thousands were watching the sky for a UFO. Just a sort of ride away, John Searle and a colleague are testing one of their UFOs. The press rang me and said that Blackbush Airport said that they have phoned you up and asked you to remove your disc from the airfield area because you're blacking out the radio. Is that right? I said, yes, they have asked me to remove it. This has now been done. They said, we'll be putting this in the paper, this report. So I went and got the papers. Okay? UFO over Blackbush. A UFO appeared over Blackbush, blacked out the radio communications of incoming aircraft. That's all it said. Now from that moment on, every article that came out said UFO, never ever mentioned my name, but I had invited them to come and see the show.
The press treatment of Searle began to take its toll. With the high level of attention, some of the Demo 1 team members became suspicious. Was there something genuine beneath the ever-growing circus around John Searle? Dispute and dissension came to the Demo 1 team.
Dispute occurred and the team wouldn't turn up because, unknown to me at the time, the one chap in charge of the work with me had another team down in Eastleigh. He was making the same vehicle, but he would join my team to find out how we did it. They had a craft in exactly the same construction as mine. So we dropped them. I just dismissed the whole group and just finished it myself.
John Searle would not patent his generator, so whatever was secret would remain secret. The money stopped coming in and he terminated the Demo 1 project in 1978. Soon he was faced with something new.
I had a good team at Greed, at Mortimer, very good team. But then, you see, like all teams, you'll get one who suddenly realises the value of what they're doing. And then greed comes into play. They think that by owning it, they control the world. They dictate who can do what and who can't, how much you've got to pay for that right. And that's the shame of it, because here was something that should have been on the market. Generators should have been on the market in 68.
At home in Mortimer, Searle was served with court papers stating that he owed the electric board over £10,000. By 1982, he was arrested and accused of stealing electric power. Here's how he answered the charges.
Well, what happened was, electricity was expensive, and I didn't have the wage packet to meet the cost of that. Working on this, trying to get this idea right, and we did have 2 units. One I took to shows, and the one I fitted in the house and put all the wiring on it. The one in my house for 30 years, they took apart, they found no wear or tear. In fact, they was almost sure they only just been made. It was that good.
What happened to that one?
Well, when the court asked if they could bring the generator in for the court to see it, they said they had confiscated it. So I feel inclined to think that they broke it open not knowing what was inside.
Who confiscated it?
The electric board themselves. Because they told the court that it did not comply with their standards. The judge wasn't quite satisfied that I was this dangerous man that they were trying to portray. So they asked the chief man what was strange about this man's house. So he said, "What? There was 2 little switches, block switches, what we call grid switches on the wall." So he pointed over to it and he said, "See those 2 switches?" "Yes, what's strange about that?" "Well, he's got 16. We took the floorboards up, they got power transformers on them. What's strange about that?" "I've never seen anything like that before." So he asked him what else was strange. So he said, "Well, out in the shed, he's got all this equipment from the floor to the ceiling. It looks like NASA." He said, "What else was strange?" Well, he said, "We were trying to find where the electric came from. We cut the wall, we had to cut the walls open. We come on this box." He said, "We took it out, when we open it, we got these plate things and we got rollers running round." So the judge said, "What's strange about that?" He said, "Well, we can't understand how they run." "No, judge, can't you do that?" "No." "Can't anyone do that?" "No." "Is that man there clever than you?" "Yes." "Here's your bill back. No way am I going to make that man pay you £10,975. I knew what the judge was trying to point out to him. That I can't be insane if I'm cleverer than him.
The electricity to run his home sometimes came from his own generator. That generator was never returned to him. The semi-favorable court decision was costly. The price he would pay was divorce and the breakup of his family. The memory is difficult.
I'm a loyal person, and that I wouldn't walk out unless pushed out.
Only the work kept me going.
John Searle sacrificed his family in favor of his invention. He left his home and disappeared into the Midlands of England. The only consolation came in the form of recognition for his commitment to his generator. Professor Shinichi Siki from Japan suggested the name that would stay with the generator to this day.
You are the finder of the technology, so it ought to have your name to confirm you are the inventor. So they suggested it be called the Searle effect generator. Searle effect generator is simple. Just call it SEG.
When I look at it now, it's a shame that the amount of stuff that was lost, because there was about 101 volumes of records of everyday work, photographs that were taken by people that sent me copy press articles. These have all vanished over time.
After the court case in 1982, John Searle walked into obscurity in the Midlands of England, taking nothing with him but the secret know-how he had refused to patent. His extensive research library, records, documents, all equipment, and his family were left behind. Very little has been recovered.
He had this, he had that. He showed no evidence. He said things were destroyed by fire. We've heard that story many times before by people. A load of crap. I don't believe a word the man says. That is the standard thing.
4 years later, in 1986, Searle was found and asked to return to his lifelong work. He had lost nearly everything, but here was the chance to tell his story and prove his generator with a more scientific approach.
He was a man that hunted for 2 years to find me. And when he did find me, by luck, that he contacted somebody in America. Oh yes, we just spoke to him. He's in the Midlands. So they gave him my address and he came up and he said, if I come back, I'll put £2,000 in to get you started.
For the next 15 years, John Searle lectured all over the world. England, Australia, Scotland, Canada, and the United States, to name only a few. Crowds were sometimes shocked to discover he was still alive, but eager to hear him tell the story of his generator and flying disc. In Germany, 1989, he was awarded the honorary title Professor of Mathematical Structures of Creation and Energy.
I was well known. I was known by people like Sir Freddie Laker and other people like that. I met princesses. We talked. They enjoyed every minute with me.
John Searle had become Professor Searle, and an aura of mystery had formed around the flying saucer man. But where are the witnesses?
There are plenty of witnesses around, but there seems to be a problem. They do not like to come out in the open. They've read too many books about men in black breaking in, destroying their homes, burning their property, and FBI and things like this, breaking in, stealing this, stealing that, and they're frightened. They're dead frightened.
Is the Searle effect generator so profound a device that it would change everything we know? Perhaps Searle's refusal to patent his secret was working against him. This is Richard Veer Compton.
I worked with John. I was responsible for converting ordinary 250-volt electric drills so that they would run on 12 volts, so we could cut up the timber rather than using hand saws, and we could speed the process of building the disc, the 30-foot disc. Ken Pirelli turned up on my doorstep and told me about Searle. I went to see him and saw what he was doing, was rather amazed that he was building a disc in somebody's garden. So I thought, well, this could be fun, let's see what happens. And of course, very soon one began to feel that nothing was really going to happen.
If nothing would happen, what was it that captured Veer Compton's interest?
Well, basically, the Searle effect was meant to turn the ether, which is all around us, which contains energy, and tap into this energy, which has euphemistically now been known as zero-point energy. And various other people who followed Searle's footsteps have also potted around, and they've tapped into it by mistake.
At his home in Mortimer, Searle had been arrested for stealing electric power. Veer Compton had visited Searle years before the arrest and remembers the switching over to the Searle effect generator.
He said what he was going to do was to switch the spell effect generator on by cutting off the electric path.